Okay, we are live. Sorry for we had a bit of a technical issue. Sorry we were late there. For those of you who tuned in at 10:30, we're Coffee with Aliens at the Movies, a film review and education channel. If this is your first time here, please consider subscribing by clicking on the subscribe button, which you'll see in the description box below.
I'm Steve Chambers. I'm an actor and a writer.
And I'm Robert Bellissimo. I'm an actor and an acting teacher. And we're thrilled today to have a very special guest, Robert Funaro, who has many amazing, impressive credits from The Sopranos to most recently The Irishman, American Gangster, Vinyl, and so on and so forth. And he's also done a lot of theater in New York and a Scandinavian tour of Streetcar Named Desire.
Yeah.
So, Robert, thank you so much for joining us. We've been really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robert. Bellissimo. Thank you, Stephen. And it's great to be on Coffee with Aliens at the Movies. Thank you.
Nice. It's great. Thank you.
I wanted to start by asking Robert, you had mentioned that you were studying with Herbert Berkoff and you felt that you didn't have quite a good handle on acting with him, but then with Bobby Lewis, you felt that suddenly you knew what you were doing. I mean, what did Bobby Lewis do for you that gave you a better handle on acting?
Well, up until I did a play as an understudy with Paul Sorvino at Fairleigh Dickinson College in New Jersey, in Inglewood. They were doing not Born Yesterday. They were doing Born Yesterday. And I played the reporter in that. And Paul was good enough to give us a couple of a performance for all our work. And, you had to lug stuff around, do stuff and everything. To make a long story short, after that, I was so confused because I had studied with Herbert for 3 or 4 years. And I was very confused about, how do I put things in perspective in terms of like it seemed to be always the class would be like result orientated. It wasn't the process of getting there. And that's why I enlisted my good friend, David Semnon, God rest his soul, at the Drama Bookstore, a place that Miranda from, great comment, he saved that bookstore. And so anyway, I enlisted, and he said, well, why don't you study with Bobby Lewis from the group theater? He's great. I know people who work with him. So then I worked with Bobby, and then he gave me a process of getting there. You know what I'm saying? From a first reading, it always seemed like with Herbert, I mean, they were great. I never studied with Uda, but there was never the process. Bring the scene in and work on the scene, and then he would critique you, and then you go home and do it. But that doesn't help you when you're doing a play.
Oh. Yeah,
where you have to be at certain areas. You don't start off up here. You got to start off down here and work your way up. And that's what Bobby did, from a first reading to a production talk to a conceptual talk of the production to getting up on your feet and taking notes and character elements. Brando, for the thing he did on in The Godfather, I believe that was really taken from Bobby Lewis because genius steals. Lewis had done a play with the group theater. They did this whole thing with his cheekbone and everything, and he put stuff in there. And he was really a genius actor, not only an trainer. So that's Rob. That's it, Rob.
That's a good answer.
That's the reason why.
What specifically? Can you talk a little bit about that process? Was it like how did he teach? Like like Meisner had the repetition and Strasberg had the sense memories. Was there a specific toolkit there, or?
Sure. Bobby has a book called, and you can still purchase it, called Advice to the Players, where he has exercises, and he also has doing a play from a first reading all the way to the process of putting it up on its feet. So it was a 4-step process. First, you would come in with your scene partner and you would read it, and we talk a little bit about it. Then the next class, you would do a conceptual talk where you would plot out a way where you're going characterization, characteristic traits like characteristic props, different kinds of behaviors. You know what I mean? And then you would put it up on its feet, and you would rehearse the scene, and he would direct it, and then you have a final farewell performance with his direction. So that was basically the process. There was no really any repetition. I got that into a little bit later, not with Sanford Meisner, but with Win Hammond, who was one of Sanford Meisner's proteges, who produced the American Place Theater, that great theater. God rest his soul. He passed away of COVID-19 this past year in 2020. But I mean, this was the process that Bobby, and he gave you a plan, so you understood. And his basic thing was that behavior came from intention. So you walked into a scene with what you want. You knew with what you wanted, and you would go for it. And that would kind of. I'm sorry. Let me turn this phone down. That would kind of.
Yeah, no problem.
That would kind of be the basis of your behavior. You know what I mean? So, and that's basically what we went through with Bobby Lewis. But it was great because here's the thing: you're doing a play. You know where you should be at certain points. As I said, you should know. You know, you got to work up to it. You got to ladder up, as they say, like we ladder up in film to get to that last take. Like the last take of Irishman with Marty, that was a great learning process because he took that last take that I did with Robert De Niro. That was, Steve Zalian's dialogue, but some of my dialogue, street dialogue that I added in there. So, but I didn't get any writer credit. Not only actor, So, but anyway, that was a great process. Because Marty's thing is getting there, and he picks you because he knows you know something about that person, and that was the first time on film that I was really comfortable in my own skin.
Okay, so that's interesting. Would you say then Marty? I can't call him that, but Martin Scorsese's.
I call him Mr. Scorsese.
Was it so? He didn't have the intention of having that first take perfect. Like he planned to kind of get you guys going, right? Like, are you saying he didn't expect it one take and we're done, or two? He didn't expect perfection on the first one.
Absolutely not. I mean, here's the thing. His first thing is, Robert De Niro, he came to the set, and they called him in, and Marty's thing is to try to make you comfortable. Let's do one. Let's try one. I think Robert De Niro's process is he doesn't know the words to. He's such a great genius. He doesn't know the words. He's aware of what he has to do in certain scenes. In other scenes, he knows his character so well. And I think that when he did De Palma's, because Brian De Palma talks about that in his autobiography on Netflix about how De Niro came to do Untouchables. He really know any of the
lines. We were talking about that, yeah.
So this is the same thing. So and of course I broke the ice with Robert because I knew Richard Bright, who was a friend of his from The Godfather, and also of his upcoming career. He knew Richard with Once Upon a Time in America. So I was able to break the ice and have a friendly. I knew I had to break the ice, so I was able to break the ice. You want to break that ice, and so Marty does the same thing to make you feel comfortable, and then. In the end, they'll say, "Okay, do one your way. Anything? What do you mean? Any way you want it. Just get do it." And that's great feeling to do that. And the more and more you hear about these stories, you hear that these actors, they improvised good stuff. Well, they say that about Robert Altman with MASH. Okay, pick up the script. Ring Lardner's back. You know what I mean? Ring's back, so you got to pick up the script. So.
When you said you did a little improv, was that on camera or was that like rehearsed and then you had to remember what they scripted it and then you had to say that, or was it on camera?
It was on camera. I mean, Marty said that, just do one your way, and he lets you, it gives you the freedom to do it your way. You could also hold on to the dialogue. That's Steve Zalian's dialogue, but there's some things added in there that, that makes sense.
I see.
That fill in the holes kind of, because I mean, I think when you're a writer, I think with Marty stuff, he likes to pick people who are kind of indigenous to the environment, you know what I mean? And who know the territory. So that's what makes his performances, all the performances, so great,
I see.
Oh, all right.
When you if I know you've told the story quite a few times, and for anyone who doesn't know, Robert was working in a comedy club, and James Gandolf, he was friends with Gandolfini, Caroline's, and Gandolfini found him because he wanted him to play on The Sopranos, so he got Robert the audition. So when you had that audition, what did they ask you to do?
Well, Jimmy, let's honor him because all because of him, I'm here talking with you gentlemen.
Right.
Uh, you know, I really wasn't pursuing acting. I had done it, like 10 years prior with Jimmy. We did Streetcar Named Desire in Europe, and we lost touch with each other, but he was still living in the city, and I saw him one time in Hell's Kitchen at Rudy's, and we said hello to each other, and after we did the play Streetcar, because he played Mitch and I played Stanley. Yeah, and so after we met one time with John Barone, one of the guys who played in the production too. We were friends, and then Jimmy, he broke out. He went to Hollywood, and then he came back, and second year into Sopranos. And a good friend of mine, Gordon Silva, went up to Jimmy and said to him, "Hey, at a party," and Gordy has a good set of Cleones. If I was you, I'd get your good friend Bobby Funaro a job on your show.
Right.
And that's how it happened. And he said, "Well, where's Bobby? Where is Bobby? What are you talking about, Bobby Funaro? You play with him in Streetcar Named Desire, And that's what happened. And Jimmy said, "Well, where's Bobby working?" He said, "Working at a comedy club." And Jimmy he went to 3 or 4 comedy clubs with Joe Fay, his driver. Joe's a great guy. And he found me. And he asked me to audition. So in your original question, I'm sorry, I digressed a bit and wanted.
That's all right, yeah.
And then he came in and said, I'm like for you to audition. I can't guarantee you're going to get this part, but I think you're right for it. And I auditioned and I landed a role on Sopranos. That's how it happened,
Right.
For me.
Fantastic.
Up until then, it was just like agents, casting calls, and
right.
It was a lot of bullshit. But listen, everybody goes through with things, but it's really sometimes who you know. It's true who you know. You know what I mean?
What was the first thing that even made you want to get? I think I heard you say somewhere. Was it your uncle who was in the business that kind of gave you the bug initially?
Yeah. Yes, my uncle was a director, Catholic Charities in Brooklyn. He started with a small degradation theater players in Howard Beach, and he built it up, as a director, casting, using people all around him as the characters, Hello Dolly and stuff. And then he really built it up to where he got to be on NBC every year to raise money with Catholic Charities, which was a wonderful project. Hello Dolly, Guys and Dolls. And, that's how I got the bug really through him. I would go see the plays with my family, and one time I auditioned and I got a part as one of the dancers, but I really had a crush on this girl, and she dropped out, so I dropped out too, and that was it.
Yeah.
He was a little bit,
That's how it all starts for us men with that. It's always a girl.
Oh, for sure.
I think Cassavetes said that too. He got in there because there was a lot of women, right? And he's like, okay, well,
Dustin Hoffman, everyone said that.
Yeah, I'll join.
Yeah.
Just touching on that Soprano. Oh, sorry, Steve. Did you have
No, go ahead.
Just touching on that Soprano. What did they? Was it the traditional thing? They sent you sides for Eugene, or what did you have to do for the audition?
Well, no, I mean, honestly, I was given, James came down and I had an audition like 2 days later. He might have came down on a Wednesday and I had an audition on Friday. And Georgianne Walken, Christopher Walken's wife, and, Jaffe Walken happened to be right across the street. Their casting office right across the street from Caroline's on 50th Street. So they were on 51st Street, not at the Brill building, but at another building that was adjacent to Caroline's, on Broadway. Mm-hmm. So what I did, I was a manager then, I kind of stayed in I just had the keys to the place. So I just studied all night on the stage and worked the part. And I went and I auditioned, but, honestly, and I like to tell this story because I think it's a good story for a lot of actors that, I was cast as, Ralph Selferetto in the beginning, Joe Pantaleone's part. And,
okay.
And that's what the part that Jimmy had said. You thought I was right because, of course, Hence, I was a Stanley, and that guy's a son of a bitch, that Pantaleone.
Oh yeah.
Right, yeah.
Not Joe, but Ralph Selferetto.
Yeah. Oh God,
Joe's a
Ralph
great
is.
guy. And Joe has
Yeah.
been interviewed. He doesn't really mention this, but I don't really care because I like to tell the story for other actors, Robert, who are getting into business, that sometimes things don't work out the way you want them. There were problems with me and Jimmy in terms of the chemistry, and David really wasn't happy. They grayed out my hair and stuff like that. And it just wasn't working. I think it was a little bit of that. I think it was a good portion of that. A good portion of this was my first really professional job, and it was a lot to handle, and perhaps a little bit too much that I could chew also. So, David tried his best to keep me going, but then he said, I'm not so sure. And Joe Pantaleone was the original choice. So he went back to Joe, and they asked him, and Joe made him pay for that. And of course, David asked me if I wanted to stay on the show, and I said yes. Of course, I wanted to stay on the show. I think that was,
of course.
I think that was Jimmy's thing. I want to keep Bobby on the show because I know Jimmy really believed in me. And then, well, who am I going to play? Oh, this guy named Eugene. What's he like? Well, we're going to make it up as we go along, and they did. And it was one of the
I see.
So that's how.
I see. So when you went for that audition, was it, was there a few callbacks, or was it just the one time? Okay.
No, it was callbacks. Are you kidding me? You had to go in.
Yeah.
First, you went to see Georgianne, and she loved me and said, okay. And that was great. And I worked so hard, diligently on that audition. I remember. And then I had to go to Silver Cup Studios a couple of times. The first time to audition again, I think it was 2 auditions. And the final time for everyone. That's the writer, the hairdresser. Right. It was like walking into the Inquisition. Very intimidating. But I landed.
I bet.
I landed it. I got
far.
But I just had a lot of. You got to have cojones,
Yeah. Do you remember? Do you remember what the scene was? It a scene that eventually got shot with Ralphie? That's in the series.
I mean, yes, it was. It was one of the scenes was the first scene that. I don't recall. I know that Tony Soprano meets Ralph Selferetto, and he comes back, and they're on the grass, and Ralph is just taking over, like, because someone passed away. And I remember, and I remember that I was giving him, Tony Soprano, a little trouble, and he wanted to straighten me out, and of course, John Fiore, who played Gigi Gastone, great John, great actor. And he was my captain at the time, and he had Ralph under his wing until he met his demise on the bowl, whatever.
Yeah. I see.
I don't know where they got that from, but listen, it was original. That was for sure.
Yeah,
things like that happen.
Yeah.
Us Italians have a lot of gastric problems. You know what I mean? Gabagol. It's the gabagol. It's the. Rob knows
it's all the sausage.
The mozzarella and everything, So that's
Steve. Did you have something there on that?
Well, I'm just curious. So, like, no, going back to how getting the bug, right? So you've got your uncle. He's doing musicals and stuff like that. Was there, like me, seeing a James Dean? Was there a film performance you saw and went, I got to do that? Or was it just kind of organically through the family and you kind of chased a girl?
Well, no, not really. I've always been kind of, I'm left-handed. I've always saw things, I kind of, viewed life in not so conservatively. I'm the second born. My brother's a doctor. It says a little bit, my father got him through medical school, and I kind of was on my own, and I took to, I guess if you're you're second born, you're always looking for attention a little bit. And I got that attention on stage and everything, you know what I mean? And I found out that people could really like me, even from high school, even though I really didn't pursue it then. I got that from that, I'm kind of like an isolate loner kind of. And I would go to see Truffaut's 400 Blows in the city when they had the cinema places downtown. There was a great place on Houston Street. I forgot the name of it. Geez, the Angelica Cinema. So I would go to see, maybe not back then, but I would go to see cinema and I love Truffaut, and I love some of the Japanese directors. But Truffaut really spoke to me. I liked his humanness. You know, his
Sure.
I was never Antoine Dionel, a delinquent like that. My father kept me in line, but I felt like that in a way, you know, to like others around me. I never looked at life as getting married and having the family and just like that. To me, I know, never really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
The year. Sorry, go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
No, just really quick. You mentioned
Yeah.
Truffaut. Who are some of your other favorite filmmakers?
I'm sorry, I was just trying to get the TV on again. It's some stupid reason. Can you see me?
Yeah, you're good.
Good. All right, good. Who are my other filmmakers that I like? I mean, I liked, and I remember going to Upper West Side. There was a place on the Upper West Side in the 90s where I saw Kurosawa for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Not only the Seven Samurai, but his human films like Akiru. I don't know if you know that.
I love that one. Yeah.
Which means to live, of course. And
Yeah.
that was a great one. I like those stories about the struggle, you know, during the bomb and everything.
Sure.
Bicycle Thief and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, Tisika. I saw all those great films. They had the place. I know it now. The Thalia. The Thalia was the Thalia on the Upper West Side. They would play all those films. It was great stuff. It was great. So, you know, that's true. It was Kurosawa. It was Tisika. Fellini, of course. I mean, early Fellini.
So you're into all the filmmakers that we discuss on our thing. We've done it.
You guys keeping it alive. You know, I'm glad you're keeping it alive. I mean, it's good. It's nice to know that you're out there. You know what I mean? You know, I mean,
it's good to hear you say, give those guys as your answer too. That's super, super cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I was like, I don't know. Every generation, that generation, like De Palma, and I know Spielberg, those guys love that stuff, and they kind of did it, man. They really did it. You know, whereas I just thought about it. I don't know. I got a chance to do it actually, so I'm appreciative of it. You know.
Talk to me about the early years for you. You know, you mentioned casting agents and agents before. It was all the bullshit. You know, were you auditioning a lot, or did you eventually just say, okay, I'm done with acting? Or were you, what were those years like before Sopranos?
Oh, it's kind of frustrating. I mean, I think I met Ulu Grossbard, Robert Duvall's director. I mean, I think I slipped my picture underneath his door. He came out of his office and said, "What are you doing?" I didn't know who he was. I said, "I'm just leaving a picture." So we don't take that. It was really nasty.
Oh shit!
I thought it was really nasty. So I mean, I didn't know who he was, but at the same time, I know that it probably was him. I guess a lot of actors, but we used to do the rounds and everything. Dropped. And nothing ever really came of that. I mean, the first professional job I really had was Born Yesterday at the in New Jersey at the William Patterson College in New Jersey, where I got paid. And then the second one, when I really applied myself with Robert Lewis, was Streetcar Named Desire. Mm-hmm. So I was really happy to get that, and I think that was a product of the fruition of working with Bobby Lewis. And but in terms of like what you're saying, Robert, the auditioning, I mean, I got close to doing Warriors and one of the guys in Warriors, but it didn't pan out for me. It's something I missed the audition or something like that. But I'd gone to the cattle call, but I never really got into the casting office. And I kind of was turned off by it. Did some extra stuff. I really didn't like that. And I lived my life a little bit because it is quite frustrating to try to get work when you're on the outside. But I found out that it's the people who stick it out that eventually really, if you really want to do this. And I was fortunate enough to have a godfather like Jimmy Gandolfini to help me get me to the other side. I mean, I'm just fortunate that way. But I know that the people who have stuck it out, I really respect them a lot. And those guys that have done that, you know what I mean? And I think if you do it long enough, you do break through,
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Not everyone, a large portion. It's a good portion, I guess,
Yeah, no, absolutely. When you when you got the script for members only, was it bittersweet in the sense? I mean, I know it was the one of the last season or the second last season. Was it bittersweet in the sense that you knew this was your last episode, but yet it was such an amazing episode at the same featured you know, completely. So I mean, what
Yeah.
was it like to to on one hand get off the show, but on the other hand giving you a great role? How did you react to that?
I started before every season, kind of during the summer. At the end of the summer, they'd be gearing up for the next season, which was season 6.
Yep.
So I started hearing rumors. Like people that call me Bobby. Bobby, they're casting for Eugene's wife. Really? I don't know. Really, maybe they're expanding my role or whatever. This is good. Now they're casting for your son. This is really great. I'm really feeling good about this. So, then I got a call from David Chase, finally. And Jimmy would always, he never really would get involved in that. Never really got involved in. The thing that Jimmy is, he'd leave you alone to find your own way, and he'd help me out, definitely help me out and coach me, to, help me if I had a question and I asked him, So David called me up like he called up a lot of the guys who weren't going to be on the show any longer. He said, I got good news and bad news. What do you want to hear first? I said, well, give me the good news. He says, well, the good news is that you got a family, and Terry Winter, he wrote a great episode for you called Members Only, and you're going to do a lot in this episode. You're one of the focal points of the episode, and it's pretty poignant. Oh, that's fantastic, David. What's the bad news? Well, bad news is that you're dead. Well, okay, I had a feeling. But Robert, when I read the script, I said, well, this is a great script, and I think people are going to remember me because the guy who couldn't get out, and how many people could identify with that. Brando once said that, and he talks about Waterfront, that, Terry Malloy, everybody could have been a contender. That speech he did with Steiger, in the taxi,
Right.
It could have been somebody. People identified with that. If you were an actor and you were a good actor, they would identify with any Kirk Douglas or any good actor because the speech was there, the content was there. So I kind of, and he said that it was a very important thing because people could identify that and they'll remember you by that. So I said, well, you know what? I think people are going to really, really dig this episode by the guy who couldn't get out. I hanged myself and I killed myself. But to me, it was always for my family. To others, some say, "Hey, you were a rat," and some say,
yes.
"Well, you kind of." And they talk about me after he was a mutt. I think Michael said
that. At the funeral, yeah.
At the funeral too.
Yeah. But to me, it was really more for my family, and I thought it was set up that way because with the pictures and
I
the
think
kids,
so.
Everything was closing in on me. But at the same time, I felt that it was the only way not to tell on my best friend from CYO basketball.
Right.
He tells, when I go to ask him if I can get out and go to Florida.
Yeah.
I thought I did it more for my family, and I still feel that way.
Well,
Yeah.
I think you're right. I rewatched that episode yesterday, in fact, and the way the camera has the last thing that Eugene looks at, it's a picture of his family, and he picks up the seashell, right?
Right.
And then the violent. Robert and I were just talking about the hanging scene, like. I've never seen any director hold on a shot like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're like, usually it's the thing, the death.
It looks like you're actually choking. Like.
Yeah, and they just have us watching it, and I'm like, holy shit, cut away from this. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the longest hang scenes in
ever.
Someone had said that it's one of the longest hang scenes in television history, I think.
Oh,
yeah. But I also think that, the choking, some people, you're trying to get out. Well, no, if you're hanging with a rope and it hurts you, your natural reaction is to hold on to it.
Yeah.
Life is, just don't. I think that you would naturally do that.
I agree.
Yeah, I think you do have second thoughts about it. It hurts so much,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Pete Picosi, who, but of course I kill myself. But the thing is, Pete Picosi, who's the stunt coordinator.
Yeah.
We worked on that outside of the Bada Bing in a tented scaffold. They brought the scaffold on a day that I had a very little to do. He said, "Okay, we're going to do this little scene with Jimmy." I think it was somebody comes back from somewhere, and I think it was one of the scenes that somebody comes back. I think it was Silvio or something like that. Welcome back or something. And I think outside I was rehearsing. People asking, "What are you doing?" You can't say anything. You know what I mean? And in the newspaper they wrote some sort of thing. Oh, there was rehearsals outside or whatever. But they had it roped off and they had it draped off, and we had rehearsal. And Pete also had to go to. We went to California for the brace that I used, and he made me feel real comfortable about doing what I wanted to do with that brace on. You know what I mean? And he had to get a special one to fit my body. And it was great episode. Terry Winter won an Emmy Award for that dramatic episode. It was great to be part in that episode and be a big part of it. I really feel honored to finish the series with that episode. You know,
it's one of the best episodes. It's to me, it's one of the best episodes. Yeah, like I remember
Members Only and the next one, Join the Club. Those are my favorites.
Yeah. I remember watching it. My family and I were watching it when it aired, and I was in acting school at that time, and I thought, holy shit, this guy Robert Funaro is it got me really excited to act, you know. I thought, man,
that's great, Rob.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I remember that moment being like, Jesus, what a performance, you know. I'm a little curious because I also watched it again recently, and when the last shot is before you actually jump off and start to choke, it's that extreme close up on your face. And how did you prepare for that? Because you're just drained of life, you know. And I thought, as an actor, did you just get ready for a moment like that?
You know, I have to say that particular thing with Tim Van Patten, who's a terrific director. I think Tim, that was really a moment that Tim was really digging what I was doing, and I was digging what he was doing. You know what I mean? In a sense of having me try to find that, and I kept remember him saying, "Just stay right there, stay. That's great. Just stay with that emotion." It really didn't have to do much. Just the thought alone of hanging yourself, and so many people have done it through time. That thought alone, there was really no process of getting there. It just that whole thing of the belief, the gullibility that I have, and a lot of actors have that gullibility, that sense of letting yourself go, you know, that hypnotic thing that we do, and it is kind of hypnotic. We tell, you know, and it just brought me to that place. I think that for me, Members Only was you know, the years that I'd work on the show, finally kind of with the episode itself and having all that work to do, it all worked in my favor in the sense of, you know, sometimes I would question what I was doing, and there was a sense of not solidifying a scene, but I think it worked. There was a certain nervousness at times, and not knowing, and I think that kind of, we go, you know, I backtrack to Marty, that, you know, you really have to pour yourself into a role, your own self into a role, and I think I really was able to lock into that self-doubt that Eugene had. Especially, I thought the scene in the when they told me that I had to be an informant, that Ray Curto was dead, you know, that Ray Curto was, you know, and I thought that was, there was some really good scenes there with my wife, and
oh yeah.
Well, you do the thing.
It worked. It all came together in that episode for me. All the years that I worked on it, because up until then I smashed the guy in the head with a Snapple bottle. Everyone loves that.
Right.
I remember that. Yeah.
As the guy,
because
Jocko said, "You got a good thing to do this month. You're gonna smash the guy." You know, Bobby Lewis is turning his. That's all you get. Yeah, Bobby, that's a good thing. You smashed. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, you do the thing, Robert. Here, our Canadian Robert, and I talk about this all the time. Is the ability, you know, and my favorite, Steve McQueen, for saying so much without dialogue, and in that, especially in Members Only, Eugene, like, holy shit, I was making notes about, like, look at how how tragic this figure is, like a little boy with no dialogue, or not no dialogue, but you're talking about other stuff. But that scene where you're talking to your wife and you're like, yeah, the Florida's a no-go, and you know, and she just looks at you, tears in the eye, and you're quiet, and then you go, but there's this other place you gotta see.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, And I'm like, oh, how
That's
did he
right.
make that switch? Oh,
You know, the thing was with
he's
that,
so trying.
I think
That's a
that,
good point, Steve. It was very like childlike, like the vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
yeah, that was I agree, Steve. I thought that was a really interesting transition there. He just trying so hard.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know that the note there was don't become emotional. They didn't want me to become emotional, so I didn't do it. So, and Timmy
Yeah, you got to be
want that.
tough for her. You can't break down. Like she's
Tim
already
didn't
breaking
want
down.
that.
You got to
Tim
hold
didn't
her.
want that. But then I was brought in to really we did a reshoot. You know, hold on.
That's all right.
So we did a reshoot of and we had a that's when I look at the and I'm telling you guys because you know actors should understand, Robert, that a lot of times you do reshoots. It's not that it's your fault. It's just that the way it looks, you didn't do anything
Right.
wrong. You know, my first 2 years, like on the show, was my first professional job. You go around saying, and everyone goes through it. You know, am I doing something wrong? I'm like, there's all this self doubt, and you got to get past. You got to get past that. But it takes.
Yeah.
See, you can't rush that. You can't like jump from point A to point. You got it like it's like my father used to say about like approaching a mountain. You just can't climb straight up. You got to find the approach. There's no way of skipping that
Yeah.
approach. You know what I mean? So I mean, I think actors, it's important for them to understand that there's a process to everything, and that you might have to reach. There's nothing that self doubt that you feel. You got to try to like James came up to me after we were at the Zegfeld and we had after members only, and they put us on stage, and he said, "This is great, right? So you're doing great. It was great work you did. You know why, Bobby? Because you didn't give a fuck anymore. You didn't really fucking care, right?" I said, "Yeah, you're right. I didn't care."
Yeah.
And it took like 3 years, well, it was 10 years. I was on felt like 10 years, maybe 8 years. I was on the show because we skipped, 6 years. So I mean,
That's right. That's right.
it took that time to get to that point, and everyone gets to that point. There's always in the beginning. There's going to be a lot of self doubt, but then you get used to it, especially filming, and then you find that's what I learned from Richard Bright. He would say, well, I say to him, there's no audience, but he said, Bobby, there is an audience. It's that camera, and just think, behind that camera is 6 million people, and they're there. Because when you're in a theater, the audience pumps you up. When you're right
Oh
on.
yeah. Absolutely.
You're right on the money with that, and you can feel the energy. Same thing with the camera. It's the same principle. It takes time to learn that.
Right. Yeah.
Well said. Okay.
Was there much rehearsal on Sopranos, or did they just shoot?
We had a couple rehearsals, and then we
Yeah.
shoot. We had to really stick close to the lines. You know what I mean? We had really. There's a script supervisor. Really, were the lines were very important to David and to the writers. I can understand that, and they kept very close to the right. There wasn't a lot of room for improvisation. But
Okay.
that's television,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
that way. It's very concise, and everything.
Right.
Every second is counted. So.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you. So I don't know if you've already shot this or it's something that's coming up, but Big Bear and the Mob, which it has to do with Sonny Liston, right? I'm a huge boxing fan.
Oh, okay.
I know everything about Sonny Liston. He fascinates me, especially older. I'm not so good with the current stuff, but a huge boxing fan. My uncle got me into that when I was a little kid. But I did see Big Bear and the Mob. What is the status of that? Did you already do that?
Oh no, that's in they're kind of in the process of putting it all together.
Okay,
it's a good story. Okay. I mean, I signed a non-disclosure, so I can't say too much about it. But
yeah. Well,
that's
no,
okay. But I can tell you that it's a story about Sonny Liston and in his basically his point of view and his struggle, which I never realized his roots and how he struggled back then.
Sure.
And with that white-black thing down south and everything. And I mean, I just...
Oh, he was arrested all the time.
Watching, what was it? Not Otis Redding, another singer. Sam Cooke's story on Netflix. And I was amazed by Sam Cooke. So it's the same similar thing. And who killed Sonny Liston is the question. So.
Oh yeah, no one knows. It looked like an OD, but yeah, that's one of those unsolved mysteries. Sue, yes. I'm super interested. I know you can't say anything. I won't push that, but I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I hope
this story
a lot of projects either come and some come to fruition. Some, so we'll see.
Fair enough. Are you a boxing fan?
A wise guy. Not a wise guy. He kind of like has a relationship with Liston, although he works for the a wise guy, So.
Gotcha. Yeah. Are you yourself a boxing fan?
I used to really. I used to be a subscriber to Ring Magazine when it was.
Oh sure. Oh, so you were.
When it was
real.
Ring Magazine with Frazier and Ali and everything.
Well, yeah. That was the heyday.
Gaddy was a guy that my cousin knew from Long Island.
Arturo Gaddy.
Arturo, yeah. And I went to a couple of his fights in the garden.
You saw him live.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen him live, so that was great. And he won a couple of times. And he lost a few times.
He was great though. He's called the human highlight reel. That guy was great. Originally from Montreal, but he's down in New Jersey. Yeah, he was the best. Absolutely,
he really would put on a good fight. I mean, I think that's what fans want to see. Want to see fight. They don't want to see. Look at the heavyweight division, Steve. It's just crazy. The heavyweight division is. It's not what it used to be, right?
No. Though Mike Tyson's coming back.
I heard about that.
I don't know. That got delayed. And
that's a tough. It's a tough. Mike Tyson. I mean, pound for pound in his prime. Let's face it. That guy he has to be one of the all-time top 10 fighters.
I agree. Well, he was fast too. Not only was he hitting hard, and fast.
He could destroy people so quickly. Yeah.
Power incredible. Unmatched.
Unbelievable.
I think his power was tremendous.
Let me ask you this. So what's with I know you're big into cooking. Eat with. What's
well, that was an idea that didn't pan out.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about. Well, I love Andrew from the Andrew Frank Group. He's a person I do business with, and we were trying to find some sort of way because of the COVID thing. I've been cooking like crazy and showing all this stuff on Instagram. Join me on Instagram. You'll see my food.
Yeah, I see. Oh, I see.
And he does. Andrew does. He sponsors Vinny Pastore, Big Pussy sauce from. And it's good sauce. It's good, the marinara sauce. I used it for a pizza just the other day. I'm not plugging it. I wouldn't tell you. It's a good sauce. It's up there with Rayo's sauce. I love both the penne vodka Rayo's and Vinny's sauce is good. And so Andrew said, well, we should try to do something with the way you cook and everything. I said, yeah, let's try that. Maybe you want to do a book or something. I said, well, so he talked about that and Simon and Schuster, and then now they have this new thing. You have to put a certain amount of money. I said, I don't want to do that.
Oh, Jesus.
So maybe we can do a show. I said, well, yeah, find a website or something. And we came up with Eat With, which seemed to be pretty good. I bought these tripods to do cooks. I said, let me have some fun. I'm inside the house. I love to cook. But then it kind of went south because I posted some pictures for them, and apparently pictures of my mom, and because I don't pretend to be someone I'm not, and I don't have a 5-star restaurant. And they posted these 5-star restaurant pictures,
right.
And I gave them pictures of my mom in the kitchen, my grandkid, and cooking, and apparently they weren't approved, and that just put me off. I mean, that's not my experience. You don't see me with the ladle and the fucking hat and the fucking apron, and the wooden spoons. And Andrew just got a kick out of it, so that kind of went south, So.
Okay.
It wasn't Cassavetes. Cassavetes is about picking up a camera and having an idea, and really doing it, and having the courage to do it, and having the courage to put your own money into it. That takes a lot. And of course, I think that if we could digress to him. And we could just say that it took him, he used a lot. I heard he used a lot of his finances to do those things. But then in the end, really, it's what makes you in life. You don't take anything with you. And I guess it's just about being, like he says in McTurney's book, being comfortable. I wonder if it was Ben Gazzaro came up with that or him.
Tough call. Yeah. We did a review. We did a review recently on Chinese Bookie, and yeah, that I love that moment. Comfortable people are the ones who are happy, and he goes, "Well, I'm not comfortable. I like to play the clown and be what people want me to be."
Yeah,
It's hard.
Your truth is my falsehood. My falsehood is your
That's
truth.
right. That's
Yes.
right. It's hard to say, because there's, people, Peter Falk would say nothing was improvised, and then, John would say, well, half of Husbands was, and then other people, I think it was like a combination of, I guess it's hard to know what was and what wasn't. I know that they were scripted for sure, but
it all comes down to the fact that the actors are in their character, and God sets them off and gives them the freedom. And in a way, it is scripted because he puts you there, and
yeah,
and so it really, I can understand that, but getting
yeah,
back to that, I mean, that's what it's about, being comfortable and doing. So that was,
yeah.
the cooking idea. So.
I know when I spoke to Leslie Hope a couple of years ago, who was in Love Stream, she had said, well, John was just, the reason his movies were so spontaneous is because he was watching everyone. He was open to the moment. So if someone suddenly did something, he didn't stop it just because it wasn't in the dialogue. I think, speaking of Bookie, I think that moment with the his girlfriend's mother, where he says, "I don't care about your father," and Gazzara says, "Well, I care," and he gets up, and she goes, "Well, I don't," and you can see the camera just quickly caught it, and I know that apparently just came right out of Gazzara, so he just allowed that within the script. He allowed those moments to just kind of like what you said with the Irishman, right? Like, do it your way. Like, just if you have something to say, then say it. So
Yeah, he
I think
definitely
that's
put the actors in the same room and gave them the freedom
yeah,
to be themselves, to be the characters. That doesn't mean that was them, but
right,
it was poured through the content, filtered through them, and it was really human. All his works are really human in a way. Maybe they don't speak to the experience of now of today, although communication does that.
Yeah.
Communication of
right.
wanting to get through to somebody. It's been such a Seymour Cassell, right?
Yeah.
When he's
We
on the
did that
street,
too.
when he's on the street and trying to talk to people,
Oh,
you
I
know,
love that.
at the beginning of that film, it
I
just,
love
Oh
that.
yeah.
trying
I
to,
know you.
yeah. I mean, how many of us have not felt that feeling?
Yeah,
We wanted to voice it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but
Speaking of Cassavetes, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. There is a barrier now more than ever nowadays with everything going on. This barrier that we create, this open sesame. It's very difficult to break through. Because people are so you know protective of themselves. They won't expose themselves, and I think that
Right,
Cassavetes was able to expose that part of yourself that maybe you didn't want people to see, but he would show it,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and how hard it is to do that. We were talking about that in some of our Cassavetes reviews. Like, it takes all the way right to the end of the movie where finally there's some kind of vulnerability break for a lot of his characters. Like, he makes it rough. It's not the traditional, well, the character's got to change halfway through the movie and it seems so simple. No, John knew that was much more complex, much more challenging for people to do that. People don't just change that easily, right? But obviously, in the traditional structure, they got plot points and stuff like that. Is there a favorite Cassavetes of yours? So you mentioned Bookie, or there are some other films of his you like a lot?
I mean, I think that I guess the one that I really the killing of a Chinese bookie is the one that I truly like, because it really talks about, it's really about giving everything you have. It's the gambling issue, whatever it is, the bookie,
Right.
everything, and actually dying for just getting shot for, like what he talks about, gets shot for, you want something so bad. I mean, Woman Under the Influence is a great one. I mean, Husbands is great too. I didn't really live that generation, so I mean, I can relate to it, but I understand it. You know what I mean? What's your favorite ones?
But for me, Cassavetes, definitely Women Under the Influence would, if I had to pick,
I like
that would
that
be
and Minnie
the
and
top.
Moskowitz.
Yeah, Minnie Moskowitz, I love all of them. It's hard to pick. It's like
I
your
know.
children, right? You can't pick your favorite kid. You know.
Moskowitz is good. Yeah, it's a good one too about love and too, and that's a little bit. That's probably the greatest love, the most realistic love story.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
It's a lot. Well, you know, like you got Dr. Zhivago and you got Unrequited Love, and that one was right in your face. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, Shadows was great. And
Mm.
all of them are really.
All of them. Yeah. Faces. They're all. You know. I mean, if I have to pick one, it's Woman Under the Influence, but it's hard. Even Love Streams is when Leslie Hope, who I interviewed and she was in. I mean, I even told her I think that's up there with Woman Under the Influence, and so she was kind of a little surprised to hear that, but I thought no, I mean, it's really a remarkable movie.
I agree with you.
I'm curious. You right after Sopranos, and you know you were wrapped. You were off the show. You know what? How was it then to get work? Was it a little easier? Did the roles come a little easier, or was it a bit of a struggle, or how was that?
Well, I really worked members only to try to, you know, to really work and I found it very difficult. Like I found it difficult to get a really good legitimate agent and I mean to get that, you know, and then I lucked out, and a friend of mine who was a commercial agent became a manager, Eric Faber. God rest his soul. We lost him 2 years ago, and he believed in me. And I think that's more important fact is to know that sometimes you can be with a big agency, but it doesn't really matter because you have to get someone who really believes.
That's true. Yeah,
100%.
Steve and I both know that.
100%.
You have to get someone. You know, it doesn't matter. Oh, I'm with William Morris, but you know, what are you doing with William Morris? So
yeah.
it was
might get lost in the shuffle, right?
Kind of a Cassavetes thing for me too with that. You know what I mean? I didn't have the benefit of changing agencies, going from one to another, because I really wasn't that center focal player. But you know, I know it was a good performance, and I thought I would get a lot more out of it. You know, in terms of you know, like a better agent. But you know, nothing really ever came of that. But you know, Eric can't come along, and because he was my commercial agent at Atlas, and he took a year off and decided to come back. He got me on American Gangster through the agency.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
So
that's
how
right.
I got into American Gangster. He was a commercial agent, and he submitted me for American Gangsters. I got an audition for you. So what for? Oh, it's for this film with Ridley Scott. It's American Gangster. So don't you do commercial? Well, you know, they allow me to do some stuff. And then he left that agency because I guess it kind of conflicted with what his dream was to be a legitimate manager agent. And he left and he came back, and this is how it happened for me too. But that's more important for actors to know that, you know, it's the person. You know, it doesn't matter. You can have a manager, but you know, there's always that point of Robert and it's very frustrating still now of getting inside the door for certain roles. There is a handful of casting directors that know me through my work that will allow me in, but other casting directors, it's not so easy. And the agent kind of, I'll put it this way: when Jimmy God bless Jimmy. When I first got on Sopranos, Jimmy did help me out with writers and artists. It's a very big agency. They didn't sign me, but they of course Jimmy was making. We would discuss it. He would tell me, "Look, I'm making them millions, even though they're not signing you. They're going to send you out for stuff. Don't you worry about it, Bobby." Like, you know, so, and they did. And I went for auditions then that were very big auditions, and I knew a lot less. It was so ironic. And I didn't I analyzed, I was almost going to analyze that. Then it conflicted with a little bit with Sopranos. But I went to see Billy Crystal and analyze that. Didn't get the role, but it would have conflicted anyways with it. So it wasn't really, you know, because Sopranos was the thing. So the thing is that I don't know what I'm saying here. The most important thing is the person believing in you, you know. And writers and artists, they did. So then writers and artists stopped their New York agency and they just did California, and that was it for my legitimate agent. in New York. Even though I was freelancing with them, I was getting in the door of some big things. And then I had to wait around for Eric to come along, to come along and until I get my foot in the door with other things. And a lot of times, it's just always like that when they're kind of dumbfounded and they can't find the right actor. A lot of actors get their foot in the door because they get a chance to get into the casting director's office and they land the role. Did you see, Rob? I mean, they could have did it a long. It's
absolutely.
The directors or whatever, the casting directors get tired of seeing the same people, and they say, "Well, maybe it's a director like David Chase. I don't want that guy. I want to,
Right.
And that's when you get a chance, when you get a good director who says, "You know what? Bring me some other people. I don't care." Those are the guys. That's when I get it. The Ray Donovan thing was like, well, the Ray Donovan thing is. We were trying to build up one of the characters. In the show, which was, so I got that role because of that,
Well,
Nice,
I'm a little curious. There's always this thing, I don't know about in the States, but at least here in Toronto and in Canada, where people talk about auditions in terms of being off book. Like, do you really make sure you're off book for an audition, or do you hold the script, or do you not worry about it too much? How is that for you?
I'd like to, I'm one of the believers of knowing the script, but having it in my hand, because there are many times you can get intimidated like that.
Right.
And you're dumbfounded, and you got a lot of dialogue, and you have 2 or 3 scenes, especially those 2 or 3 scenes. I put the script in my hand, and if I need it, I have to give them more than just the lines. You got to know that.
Of course.
More than just the lines. So
of course.
if they need it, I'll refer to it. I know it's not going to hurt me to have it, but I like to, like nowadays, it's very competitive, especially now with the theaters closed. There's another pool of actors. Theater actors are going to be auditioning for these new films, new TV shows.
Yeah.
So it's, you have to know it. But I mean, especially with 2 or 3 scenes, I have the script in my hand. If it's one, even if it's one scene, it's a lot of dialogue. I put the script in my hand just to have it. It's a security blanket. I could use it as a prop. I could rip it. So I mean,
that's a good idea. I'm gonna do that. Casting directors are gonna start seeing me rip scripts out.
I like having it in my hand.
Yeah.
I do know it. I will learn it.
Sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So once vinyl came up, what was that? Was that for Ellen Lewis at first, and then for Scorsese the audition, or what did they have you do for that for vinyl?
No, that was for Ellen, and Marty trusts his people. He trusts that role. I just saw Ellen, and I was cast in it. Some weeks later. They kept calling Eric and saying, hold Bobby, you know what I mean? We're still thinking about it, because Scorsese is, Martin Scorsese is the casting process, I guess, means a lot to him. And it really is. They say 80% is in the casting, and it's true, I think, and he just, he sits on things. He doesn't make a quick decision because, hence he's a great genius director because of it. So was Kazan, I think. I think there's a process. With the main characters, so, I mean, Ellen, and same thing with, even with Irishman, I didn't have to go see Marty for that, and he trusts the same process there too. Although I do have a friend who he went in to see, he did meet with Bobby De Niro. I won't say who it was, but because I don't want to say. Because I guess if you're working with certain people, they want to meet to see the chemistry. Yeah, some actors want to see that. What's this guy's chemistry? Because I'm going to be working with him. So, but I came to that. But I do know Marty keeps things in the family. Once he works with you once, he'll work with you again because he's a simpatico. He gets along with you. You know what I mean? Some people, no, they're not invited back. So, very honored to be invited back onto the set of Irishman. It was a great experience.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
That was American Gangster with Ridley Scott. I mean, that was off of Gladiator, 2 movies off of Gladiator. The only thing I regret with that was really not trying to communicate with Denzel Washington, because I heard some stories about Denzel. He's very focused and you don't want to. But see, the thing is, I had the same coach as him. Win Handman, and I had something to talk about. I let that get to me. And
Mm.
I had an opportunity to kind of like, just to pick his brain because he's such a genius,
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah.
I do
We
regret that, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, we did a whole live talk on him, and yeah, and his work as an actor is just unforgettable. In So sorry, just on touching on vinyl, was that what was the audition? 2 or 3 page scene, or what was that? What did they
Well,
have you do?
I read for a good friend who landed the role, Armin Garrow, who had worked with Marty in the on Wall Street, I believe. Um,
Okay.
he was in that film, or it was another film, I don't recall. And I read for the part of Galasso, and I wound up getting Tony Greco. Tony Greco. So, I mean, that's how that worked. You know what I mean? So, a lot of times you go in, you read a scene, and Marty kind of places you. I know the scene that I read in Irishman. A lot of people told me, "Oh, I read that scene. I read that scene. I read that scene."
Right.
He wants to get a
Mm.
feeling for who you are, and I happen to land. I forgot what they call that scene. I forgot there's a certain name for that scene that's used. But anyway, getting back to vinyl, I went in for and I thought I did really good for that. But to use me, he used Armin's a little bit. He is more weathered. No offense, Armin, but he looks older, and I think he's a better Galasso than me. You know, what I mean, so I mean, I played his second hand, his guy, and it was a lot of fun
Yeah,
working with Ray Romano for the first time. I knew
Oh
Ray from
yeah.
Caroline's Comedy
yeah,
Club. I knew Ray from Caroline's Comedy Club, so I didn't know him really well, but we did know each other. And of course, Bobby Carnival, who was just a
Sure.
perfect gentleman, and just makes you feel right comfortable. You know what I mean? And to work with him too, he's a really good person. All these people are
yeah,
good people. If they're working with, I think Marty Scorsese, they're human people. That this hierarchy that you see a lot on the film sets is kind of, which was on Sopranos. The hierarchy was kind of, uh, Jimmy had a way of kind of breaking the glass when it came to the hierarchy of film sets, and everyone had lunch with each other.
yeah,
You had a job to do, but I mean, let's face it. I mean, it just, if you're missing your index finger, it's pretty screwed up life. You can't, and that's important, that finger. So that's the kind of set you are with David Chase, with Martin Scorsese, and
Yeah.
Ridley Scott. He was a little bit more strict. He was a stricter. I remember doing the first scene with him in American Gangster. I was called in. It was a scene that I wasn't given to me. They said, "Can you work tomorrow?" I said, "Yeah, sure, I can work." Because Ridley wants to bring you in to the scene with Denzel, and it was a scene that Josh goes in to see Russell Crowe,
Yeah.
and for the first time, and I had said they did a rehearsal. And I had to stay outside of the office of the office, and I said, well, I don't know if I would do that. I think I would be in there with my partner. You know what I mean? I would be in that meeting between Josh and Russell, and I said to Ridley, Ridley, I think I would. And he said to me, no, 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 you wouldn't be there. You're outside. I said, you're right. I am out here. I mean, that was my first time to say, I was in trouble, man. I was like, say, no, man, I should be in there. That would be it for me. Replace him, because my role wasn't really it was developing. And there was no
Right.
lines for me. That the line. I remember one of the lines I had. Yeah, it checks out. There weren't any lines for me, but Ridley liked how I carried myself, and I became Josh's partner, which was great.
Mm.
So that's how it
Yeah.
happened with Ridley. And remember that it's a great story with him. I don't know if you want me to tell the story. It's very short.
Please.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go,
Days where
please do.
we were at this place in the Bronx going to pick up the SIU cops, special investigation, these crooked cops. They would take drugs and they would go to the storage, for evidence rooms and grab the drugs. Everyone was paid off. So me, Josh, and John Sentiempo Johnny's a great stunt man, and he does a lot of stunts for Martin Scorsese, and he's in the film too. He's in the Irishman too. When I hit the guy with the bat, and no, wait, that's Vinyl. Wait, that's Vinyl.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the musician. Yeah,
that first time, we were the second day on this show, and we do the scene that we got to go in. It's not slow mo, but we're walking through this hallway, and it's a school, but it's supposed to be police headquarters, and we go to pick up these drugs or this evidence that we're going to take. You know what I mean? And so Ridley's got it all set up, and he's got the camera. It's going to follow us and everything. And we do it a couple of times, and we wait and don't hear anything. Like, that's a take, cut, great. Let's move on. And we don't hear that. And all of a sudden we hear, wet the floor. So when I first got to the set, the streets are all wet. Like these big trucks, They're wetting the streets down like Fellini and everything. And like the wet streets. So this is pretty cool. You know what I mean? It's like that was my first really major film was American.
Yeah.
So wet the floor. So they start mopping the floors, and they're mopping like 2 floors because we had to go on the elevator, go to the elevator, get off the elevator, and go to the to go to the evidence room. So they wet the floors down, and action. And we're trying to walk on these wet floors. I don't know if you know how hard it is on these old-fashioned floors. The tile floors. We're slipping all over the place. And it stop. Okay, let's do it again. We're sliding all over the place, but we kind of managed it. And I'm saying to myself, Jesus, this is a guy, Ridley Scott. It's the second day on set. He wants us to fucking walk on water, this guy. And literally,
he thinks you're Jesus.
Yeah. So the guy wants us to walk. So people ask me, how was it? It's like, the guy wants you to walk on water. What can I say?
Yeah.
And you do it.
Literally.
And you do it because he did Gladiator. He's a fucking
man.
He did Alien,
and the first day.
Walk on that water.
And the first day with Russell Crowe, and that first day that I said I wanted to be in the in the office of Denzel's office. Russell Crowe's office. We shot the scene. I'm walking back. I'm leaving the set, and somebody taps him on the shoulder. I said, "What the fuck?" I look around, and Russell Crowe's. Hey, I'm Russell Crowe. And that was great, man. He came up to me and said, and I said, yeah, Bobby Funaro, nice to meet you, man. Love your work, whatever. We just chatted a little bit, but I thought that was really to break the ice. It's people like that and James that make you feel comfortable, which is, is a great thing. And because there's a lot of questioning, you question yourself, question what you do, and that kind of stuff brings out good performances in people,
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Totally
Absolutely.
Keeping everyone at ease, 100%.
Oh God. Yeah.
Walk on water story for.
Is there anything else on Scorsese that people may not? I've read so much about the guy. I always think, is there any other interesting, stories you could share on him? Any discussions you had with him that maybe are not things people know about?
No, I mean, just the greatness of him, just allowing you to. Ladder up to get to that place, to get to the place that you feel comfortable. And I really don't have too much to say. I mean, he's just
strictly a working, working relationship.
He'll talk to you, and do it this way, do it that way, try this.
Right.
But he allows you to be, that was the first set I really felt with Martin Scorsese to really feel, wow, this is a lot of fun. This is not so restricted to doing this, and you feel I got to do. I've done quite a few Law and Orders and stuff like that.
Right.
Script, and you gotta, it's that.
Right.
You're locked into that mode.
Yep.
Whereas with Marty leaves you the ability to be free, and try things and take risks. And that's when I really did enjoy the Irishman. I really enjoyed working on. I mean, the little I didn't. I mean, I was called in for days that we didn't work, but he has a great painter. He thinks if he needs you, there are some scenes that I was in that I wasn't in. I mean, he placed me in there. I didn't make the final, but I was held for that final scene in the was it the Waldorf Astoria for Frank Irishman. So. But you got to, as a director, I guess you have to make choices, and you can't get everything in.
Right.
I remember Robert De Niro saying in an interview, I was watching some of it yesterday, they were talking about Harvey Keitel. He said, well, "Wish Harvey would have had a lot more to say," in the Irishman. But it's
I
one of
love
those.
his scene
Yeah.
where he brings De Niro in before he's gonna blow up that laundry place, and
Mhm.
it was so subtle, like, oh yeah, who told you to do that? He's just nodding, like,
Yeah.
He was a really
and I
great.
love what he says. Hey, if it wasn't for this guy, I let the Jew mob have you. I don't give a fuck about you. And I just thought, holy shit. But he wasn't mean, right? Just very subtle, simple, but like like, don't mess with this guy. But yeah,
Yeah, it's like liquid oxygen. They say it's like it weighs a lot, and that's what Marty gets great performances from so many
mm,
people.
yeah,
You even had Bo Dietl. You had some guys, Paulie Shaw, not Paulie Shaw, Paulie something. I forgot his name. Paul. It was great in it. He played the guy who was doing who wanted the laundromat burned down, torched.
Right.
You might say.
oh yeah, yeah. I forget his
Paul.
name, but he's in a number of
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Scorsese's
he uses the
films.
same amount of people. He uses the same people, no matter you got a small part. There's no small parts, and I think,
Right,
and if you prove that you can do that small part, you never know. You could be asked to do
Yes.
a bigger part, but with the minute you kind of like look at things like this is like this little fucking thing. You treat it like that, and no actor should do
right,
that. You should treat it
right.
just like
Mm-hmm.
this is a. I remember one actor saying, "Well, I don't have a lot to say," and that's not true. You have so much to say, but you just not. You have so much to say, but you're
Yeah.
not. They don't give you just can't say it right now. But you have a lot to
Right.
say. You're a person,
You're still
So
reacting, right? You're still
don't
That's
there.
very well
don't
said. No, I like
don't
that.
feel that way.
Mm,
Don't feel that way. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it'll lead to bigger things. If you show you can do that, the captain sends you out to get firewood and you do it. You do that. You
Yeah.
execute that correctly, and you don't give any kind of like, oh, this is below me. I think
mm,
that
Yes.
those are the people
Yes.
who really
yeah,
don't work a lot because they feel it's below. Now, I will say this: I never really enjoyed doing extra work. I never really enjoyed that. I did it a
Sure.
couple
right,
of times. I just didn't. It wasn't for me. You know, and it wasn't
yeah,
about. It wasn't about like it's below me. It just wasn't for me. I mean, I just didn't enjoy the whole thing, the
right.
experience of it. And I had the opportunity to break out from that because of James. Thank God.
Right.
Yeah.
Rest his soul. So you know.
No, absolutely. There's a few questions we have here. For Frank Vinci is asking, you're interested in your thoughts on digital / virtual theater, if you have time. Do you know him?
Frank Vinci. We did this play in Staten Island. It was one of the first plays when I was starting to get into a little serious called Bird Bath. And Frank's a great guy. Hi, Frank. And Frank is a good director, and a good director who left me alone too. And Bird Bath was a story about. Well, let's not even get into that. But it was two lost souls. Let's just say two lost souls, a man and a woman. Another love story. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, the question is digital stuff. I mean,
Mm.
I don't know. I mean, there's
Digital
nothing.
virtual theater, yeah.
I think I think the teleplay format can be, and it is. I hear that people are doing it, self quarantining. I like that
Mm,
idea of going to do a teleplay, Frank. I mean, I think it could be done in a studio, and you do a teleplay, and you rehearse it like a play, and then you do it. And I think it's a good idea. But in terms of the digital the Zoom thing, it's okay. I've done them, and you got to speak right to the green dot and
Yeah.
right,
relate to it. But I'm relating more not from the reaction of what you're giving me, but I kind of like listening to you. So it's a kind of little pretend there to me because if I look at you here, I'm not really relating to you there. You know what I mean?
right, right.
So I'm kind of when I do mine, I'm kind of like listening and trying to come in a little bit. What do you mean? So I mean,
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's what
yeah,
we
it's
have.
restrictive.
It's important to
Mm,
know that what we have, we can always communicate some kind of way. Important things, actors have a responsibility. When you walk out of the theater, like Arthur Miller says, that great ancient Greek question: How are we to live? So
Yeah.
it has an importance, and it could be in a communist country something like this. A play like this could be, or that's people are restricted from free speech, it becomes a very important thing. This with all our free speech here, whatever you can do, it maybe is a little bit less. Everyone's doing this and that. It's a little scattered, but it has its place, I suppose. It's not for me, but it has.
Right.
But the teleplay is. I think the teleplay could be brought back. That live teleplay thing.
Yeah.
Dean's,
that's a really good idea. Yeah.
And
Steve and I were.
Some people are doing it in theaters. Yeah,
Steve and I were talking about that. The old you can get a lot of them on YouTube, and I know Criterion collection released a lot of Days of Wine and Roses, and you see the Bang the Drum Slowly with Paul Newman and all those. All those live. They're incredible. Like some of the Marty was originally of the live teleplay. Did you ever work for Labyrinth Theater in New York, Bobby? The Hoffman's Theater, Philip Seymour Hoffman and Steve Adley Gurgis?
No, I never did. I never worked for the Labyrinth. I never really never really was able to. Never really broke that circle. I mean, I've done off Broadway theater through Maureen Van Zant, Stevie Van Zant's, Silvio Dante's, and of course the E Street Band. And of course his great work on, and Maureen has a company called the Renegade Nation Theater Company. We're doing a Zoom on Closer. That was a Broadway play, and it was.
I know. Jude Law.
We're doing that. If you look at my Facebook page, when they're gonna, like, in answer to Frank, they're gonna edit that. So I think that being edited, it's a lot better than just the law. So they're gonna edit the scenes and everything. I think that works a little bit better. With Zoom, you can edit. And
right.
But I never worked for Labyrinth. I've worked for other companies like Renegade, and of course some independent. More independent producers. I've had my Broadway audition. Don't get me wrong. Denzel brought me in for Iceman Cometh. Didn't get that.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
it was the language. Eugene O'Neill's language. I just couldn't resonate.
Tough. Yeah.
Rob. I just couldn't. And the director was great. George C. Wolfe. I didn't meet him, but the casting director for George C. Wolfe said just do it on your own. And I couldn't. I didn't really rehearse it that way, so it was in my head. I couldn't get out of it, but I've had my my share of didn't get them, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I only asked because I know that they were doing some like what you mentioned, live Zoom performances. I know Bobby Cannavale was in one, and I thought it worked quite well actually. But I can see how as an actor, you're right, having to look right into the camera and to a certain point and not being able to respond to the other person. Yeah, that is quite. That's tough. Yeah.
It's reacting and
exactly.
So I kind of like listening for the inflection as opposed to reacting of what you're giving me. You know what I mean? And so
right.
I keep my script on my laptop and I try to cheat it a little bit. It kind of supports Marlon Brando's.
Cue cards.
Cue cards.
Really, looking away, finding the line. Although when you're doing a play, it's a lot more difficult.
Oh God. He probably would have done it if he had to.
He probably would have. Yeah, Joey Pants is like that. That's part of his process. He did a lot of that. I mean, when you're doing it for quite some time, and you feel comfortable in your skin. I like to learn my lines and, of course, try to forget them and try to process of repetition.
Me too.
Getting it, that's the way I work. You know what I mean? So
same, yeah.
There's another. This was an earlier question. I mean, I think we've touched on this, but Eddie Montez is asking, what do you feel was your most breakout role early on in your career? I imagine that's Sopranos.
My Eddie and my Denise, they took me to all the Manhattan Theater Club productions. I love them. God bless them both. I get to see some great actors and some great.
Oh, is this someone you know as well? A friend of yours? Okay.
He's a very big radio DJ and
great.
He's a great friend. Him and his wife Denise, and I mean, I guess the breakout role was Eugene for me. I mean, that was the one.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just say members only. I mean, that put me on the map in the sense more than the Snapple bottle. The Snapple bottle in the neighborhood, I was very popular. Eddie knows that in the Brooklyn neighborhood. Right. Hey, you get that guy with that Snapple bottle. It was fucking great. You did that. We did it one take. Anybody get hurt? Tell me, who got hurt?
They want to know it all, eh?
Yeah, members only, Eddie. You know that, so.
Frank Vici's just saying here, there have been a few wonderful virtual theater gems, but there are barriers, is what his comment to your response.
Yeah, I think that there are barriers, but I think that, I know I'm working with this writer director Frank Petrilli on this one that you could see my YouTube. Paulie Walnuts is my barber, but has nothing to do with Sopranos.
Right.
In a way, indirectly, it is. Paulie Walnuts is my barber. It's not really about the Sopranos, but it's about this, I guess, washed out lounge singer Jackie Perlamo, whom I play, and the people around him. Frank pointed out something to me about a theater company in Connecticut that were doing a live stream with multiple scenes of an original screenplay, and they rehearse it and they do it like live theater. I mean, it has to be, perhaps it has to be edited in a way, but they found a way of doing it. So I think that for that there's an openness, but we have to figure out how to do it. But I think Frank's right. There is limitations.
Right.
Oh yeah. Steve? Do you have anything you wanted to ask there?
No, I can't. I'm trying to think. I asked about.
I feel like I'm hogging it. I'm like, let me.
your boxing thing.
I appreciate you guys putting me on the show. When I saw that.
No, God, we appreciate you coming. I mean, what an honor.
Yeah.
Cassavetes. Oh, thank you. The Cassavetes stuff, and I mean, I was related to Michael
fantastic.
Cassavetes, and he worked with Simo Cassell, so he had the opportunity to work with Simo.
Yeah.
I never really did work with any of those actors. I mean,
right.
Leila Goldini, I haven't got a chance to meet her. She's still around in New York. A friend of mine, Joanne Tedesco, she's a writer, and she did a couple of films. She's a friend of hers. I never really met Leila. I heard she's a really nice person. She's an actor studio, but I guess that's the closest I ever came to meeting Cassavetes.
Right.
Paul Mazursky. Wait, Paul I think worked with.
I love him.
Same.
Yeah.
I just read there's a really good book of interviews with him that came out sometime in the last 10 years that I finished earlier this year, and he's to me is an extremely underrated director. But another real great New York, An Unmarried Woman, and so many great films.
Yeah, I think that's why I got along with John, because his stories were just the human stories, the unmarried woman, and I met him, of course, when they robbed his game, his.
Oh, that's right, because he's on Sopranos. That's right, he's on Sopranos.
Oh,
yeah.
Very bad boys, very bad, and it was. I happened to sit
That's right.
Henry Brompton directed that episode, and it's just strange, how you gravitate to. I knew he was Paul Mazursky, but not all of his work, and how great he was, and how much of an influence he was on. His work has been on many people, and we sat together, and he was very friendly to me. He was open. I got along with him, and he actually turned me on to Gilo Pontecorvo. Escape from Algiers.
Oh, yeah, Battle of Algiers, yeah. And he worked with Brando too. I don't know if you ever see that film Burn.
Oh, Burn
with Brando.
Right. That's Brando's favorite. That's his own favorite film.
That's his, and there's some interesting stories on that one as well.
Yes.
Brando was a bad boy on that one.
That was great. Yeah. So I mean, he turned me on to Gilo, and I never saw Escape from Algiers. So I mean, I did see it. And I was, because you said Pontecorvo was your last name. Do you know who you were? Why they call you that? Maybe you're named after Gilo Pontecorvo. He said, "Who's that?
Right.
Who's Gilo Pontecorvo?" He said, "Well, he's an Italian film director. You should look him up."
Right.
Escape from Algiers, and gave me hope. Hope to direct one day. To direct.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you want to direct? A feature? Because you've directed a short film, right? I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to direct.
Or theater.
I mean, theater, or I've done theater. I've directed theater. Not on Broadway or anything like that. But I'd like to work on it. I'd like to do a feature. Yes, sure, I would. Yes, I would.
Cool.
But it is what it is.
There's, I don't know if you know.
Ideas, I'm not gonna.
We'll send some. Well, Steve's a writer. He'll send you something.
I'll send you something.
Yes, Steve, send me something.
I will. I'm
We'll get it together.
All right.
We'll try to.
There's, I don't know if you know, FS Petrilli. Does Bobby like Mike Lee's work? I don't know if you know who
that's
this.
Frank Petrilli. That's who. Paulie Walnuts is my barber. Hello to you, Frank.
Oh,
and that's Paulie Walnuts is.
Oh, that's him. Okay,
that's him. So what's Frank saying?
He's asking if you like Mike Lee's work, Mike Lee's movies.
I'm not. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not an avid Mike Lee, fan, but yeah, I mean,
there you go, Frank.
What did Mike Lee do? I need the Prevagen.
He did Secrets and Lies, Naked, Meantime, Mr. Turner, Happy Go Lucky.
That's the director. I got to look him up because
yeah, he's kind of like Cassavetes. He's a working class. All the characters. Yeah. He's like a British Cassavetes. They were all improvised and scripted from the improvisations. Amazing performances. Yeah. Oh, unbelievable.
Live and learn, Frankie. You live and learn, baby. I'm happy to open a new page. I find that great. I mean, I probably see stuff here and there. He didn't. He also of a long distance runner. Did he do that?
I don't think so.
It's funny. No, he didn't. I was just reading about that movie yesterday. It's funny you brought that up. Who did that?
Yeah,
I can't remember. It's not Mike Lee though.
I've never even heard of that.
Neither did I till yesterday. Oh, who the hell?
I
was reading about that. Yeah, I gotta look that up.
That's British. I believe it's British.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Frank's also saying the barber's name is Paul Noci. Noci in Italian means walnuts. I think that was
yes. Yeah, Noci. Paulie Walnuts. But he was the Paulie Walnuts before there was a Paulie Walnuts. So but this is the thing.
There we go.
But the thing is that Frank, it catches people's eye, Frank. That's the thing. They think Sopranos, you say Paulie Walnuts, but
that's right.
But then
that's what I thought you meant.
But Frank wants to get you inside the theater because he needs people to come to the theater because they don't come to the theater anymore now, especially with the virus and everything.
Right.
I like the idea that Frank chose that because he kind of ties it together in the play. Where me as Jackie say, don't call Paulie Walnuts Dad because he gets pissed off if you make a reference. And there's so many guys from Brooklyn or on the streets that get pissed off if you kind of relate to them to a film character that's not them.
Right.
It's like, I'll tell you a quick story about Tony Bennett.
Go ahead.
I said, Tony Bennett. I said, Tony, I met him at this charity fundraiser with Nile Rodgers for We Are Family. We Are Family Foundation with Nile Rodgers, the great who produced David Bowie, Let's Dance, and so many other things, Sister Sledge and everything like that. So I said, now I can actually at a soiree kind of for the thing, and it was a performance thing. I'm gonna go up to Tony because I know Richard Bright was my mentor. Richard was my mentor, and him and his lovely ex-wife Britannia Alder, great, who started with De Palma. And went on to do Mommy Dearest, and of course Richard, from the Godfather 3.
Yeah, Almiri,
and also from all of the Peckinpah. I mean the Paul Mazursky stuff, Panic at Needle Park. They were close.
Yeah. They were. Oh, I love him in that. Yeah.
Pacino used to study Richard's work, and I think he really got a good schooling from Richard in the sense of studying and observing, because Richard had a great sense of who he was, and he'd look away, and he's so natural, so natural.
He was great in that one.
The films,
Panic, yeah.
So I forgot what I was going to say. So anyway,
it's Tony Bennett story.
Oh, the Tony Bennett story. Oh, so many stories. I'm digressing. So Richard told me that him and his brother, they grew up in Brooklyn. They robbed a drugstore coming up, and the reason why they had no money to buy tickets to see Tony Bennett. So they said, well, let's rob a drugstore. Let's just take this drugstore. It's not, they didn't kill anybody or anything like that, but they heisted a drugstore. They got the money to go see Tony Bennett, him and his date and brother.
I love it.
So that's what they did. So I wanted to tell Tony the story, saying, I know a guy, my mentor is Richard Bright from The Godfather, and he actually he to see one of your concerts, and then you met him, and he met Richard afterward because Richard had done The Godfather. No,
Right.
he did meet Richard afterward because Richard had done 1 or 2 films or something like that. I don't know. I know that.
Yeah, he had done some stuff
later
even in the 50s, I think, and 60s. Yeah, he was around.
Well, later on in his life, he met Tony Bennett, and Richard met him later on after The Godfather, but this was before
Right.
that. And so Tony Bennett, he stopped me right there. I said, "Hold on." I said, "Yeah, The Godfather. I never watched The Godfather. I never seen The Godfather." I said, "What?" No, I don't watch that kind of stuff. And it was like, "Oh, okay." I just kind of like shriveled up, like it just like blended, faded out,
Yeah.
We do a slow fade here, because that was the conversation right there. It was ended.
Yeah.
And I tell people that story.
Oh, God.
And I'm telling that because of Paul Noce. There are people that, I mean, it hurts, there are a few people out there that, but they say they didn't, but they did actually. I think that Tony Bennett saw The Godfather. I don't know, but maybe he didn't. I don't know. If I ever meet him again, I'm going to ask him.
Maybe he was busting your balls a little bit
I
there.
don't think he was. I think he was serious. I think some Italians don't want to be associated with that.
That's true, yeah. That's true, yeah. Particularly if you were born at a certain time, and when Italians, even my uncle too, even in Toronto, he was like, oh, because there was so much prejudice in the 50s and 60s and that he experienced against Italians, that he was like, great, now they're making a movie where we're gangsters, So he still feels that way, and it's interesting, and from his point of view, yeah, I can understand that,
Yeah, there are some people, but then again, some of those people, then they kind of like they'll do a Scorsese film or something like that. Now, what'd you say? Did you say that you didn't? Oh no, it's okay. Okay, you want to be in it. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I met Al Martino, who was a great. I did a film with Al Martino called what was it? Cut. Anyway, it's about a father and a son relationship, and I met Al. Went out to California to meet him, and at his place in Beverly Hills, I met his lovely wife and his daughter Allison, and me and Allison kind of dated a little bit after that, and Al told me about how he landed the role in The Godfather. I mean, that he basically loaned some money to one of the producers who said, I got a great script, but I need money. And maybe the producer, I don't know which producer it was. I don't want to name names anyway. And but I have this great script that that I'm working with Paramount on this great, and I think there's a great role here for you that you can do it, and I'll get you in the door with Bob Evans. I mean, I can't. He probably couldn't promise it, but he said, I'm going to get you the role. He did because he's loaning him quite a bit of money, and Al took a chance, and he did, and he loaned him the cash, and later on, when they started casting the film, he made the phone call to him and said, "Hey, what's going on? You get, because he read the script and he thought it was good. The Johnny Fontaine, it was his.
Yeah.
Al actually had that kind of. That was part of Al's career. I don't people realize that. He had to go to London because he had some trouble with some guys from Atlantic City, some of the wise guys, just like Vinyl. Vinyl was basically the brainchild of Mick Jagger. People realize
that's right. So yeah, and his son was in it too, right?
Yeah. Who was the producer who produced Sam Cooke? I forgot his name. He was I think that was a little bit based on the Vinyl, because he had a relationship with the Stones. Oh, I forgot his name, but he was that crazy producer that stole a lot of Sam Cooke's money and everything. Sam Cooke didn't own any of the rights to his stuff. That's why he got his own record company, but he was a lawyer. I forgot his name. Anyway,
right.
So
Steve is on it, I think.
Yeah.
Steve's getting it.
Good, Steve. Good. Get that, because I'm back. So I forgot what I was saying again. So.
Well, the Al Martino, because go ahead.
So Al, he landed, he cashed it on, and of course, he got his money back because that producer, of course, the Godfather was big, and
of course, right,
and everything. And Al, he told me the first day on set, with Brando, Coppola said to Brando, okay, they did one of the scenes in the on Toad Hill. And it's where I live in Staten Island. I don't live on Toad Hill, but that's where the Godfather home was, where they shot it,
That's right.
They shot it on Staten Island, some of it on Staten Island. It was in the office when they bring Alan to the office, and they made some staging. They made the backyard, the backyard, and everything. So they said, okay. So Brando said, who's next? And who's doing Johnny Fontaine? Because Brando didn't know. And Coppola said, well, we got a guy. He's a singer, Al Martino. Al Martino, what the hell? He's a singer. How is he gonna act this John? Now, this is what happened. When that was going down, Al was on the set and he actually heard this. So Brando said, well, you better get him drunk. So Al leaves the set and he goes to a liquor store and he buys this bottle of scotch. Okay, comes back to the set. And now everybody's looking. The ADs are looking. Where's Martino? He's ready to shoot the scene. Where the hell is he? He got it. This is Corleone's. He got off the set and bought this bottle of scotch. He's all dressed. He's got the bottle of scotch. He goes up to Brando, puts the scotch on the table, and says to him, "Okay, who's gonna take the first drink? Me or you?" Because Brando said you better get him drunk. So he's a fighter. I was a fighter, From that, Brando was cracking up. Coppola loved it, broke the ice. They both got drunk together and they did the scene. That's good.
That is a good story.
But see, this is for those actors, Rob, that don't know. Now they have to know that nothing is comes in a straight line.
Right.
Yeah. You got to take, the big thing I learned from James Gandolfini is that, if you're going to be any good, you need to take chances. And then you got to don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid.
Absolutely.
To fail. I've been afraid to fail. I'll admit it. Then there are times that I got more of those experiences in the theater than I've had on film. You know what I mean? And I, of course, with Marty, I was able to, open up a little bit. And I haven't had that many opportunities to not be afraid to fail. But that's the most important thing. And then if you're not afraid to fail, because that's what Jimmy kind of taught me, think great things could happen. And that's the way Jimmy was all the time. He was the guy who was going to go, if it said, do not enter, he was going to enter to see what this was all about. He wasn't going to just believe what people said, do not enter. He wanted to know about it. He wanted it like Michelangelo. He wanted to get inside. They say Michelangelo was able to cadavers, and he wanted to feel the organs, because he wanted to draw and paint from the inside. So he would grab the intestines and that's the way Jimmy was, to get inside.
Right.
So you got to take. I tell you, all the actors, take chances. Don't be afraid to fail, because one time, all it takes is that one time that people connect with you and you connect with them, and you're off, and you're doing something that's really great for me. We're essential workers, Rob. We're essential.
Oh, absolutely.
We're the lubricant that makes people's lives so hard to bear. We become that lubricant, that alcohol or whatever, that people give hope. We give hope. The little, Killing of the Chinese Bookie, On the Waterfront, all these great films, the Sopranos, and all the great films. It's essential. And now more than ever, it's essential.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well said. Yeah.
Well said. Yeah. Beautifully said. And now we all know that one of the most famous scenes in The Godfather, those guys were drunk. I'm going to make them an offer you can't refuse.
I think Brando finished off the scotch,
Yeah.
Al probably kept his head, but he was, was great in that,
he was great in that.
He didn't do many roles.
Right.
That was a brilliant role. And even in Godfather 3, he showed up and, he showed up, he hit his mark, and he was just so natural, and it was just so much him, which just goes to show you it came from himself, because he had to leave America and go to London. And then he came back from London. He had to get permission because he had signed some contracts with these wise guys, not Morris Levy. I think that was that was the guy who was based on vinyl, Morris Levy, who was,
was that?
Tommy
was that?
That was Tommy James' guy.
Tommy, yes.
Tommy James. And Tommy James has got a great autobiography. You should definitely buy that biography.
I'm a big fan. Oh, does he? Okay.
Yes, he does. And it's a great autobiography. And it talks about, Morris and everything like that. So, I mean, it's,
I got to look that one up.
I forgot what I was saying again.
No, we were on with Al Martino and that, and The Godfather, and I had heard that was loosely based, right?
On Frank Sinatra, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think they even offered it to him.
I'm not sure what happened. I know that Sinatra was against The Godfather. I think at one point he was against it, and Sinatra had to get out of a contract. I think he had to get out with Tommy Dorsey. But,
that's right.
Sure.
Dorsey took like $75,000, but he always talked good about Tommy Dorsey. That he learned his craft from Tommy Dorsey.
Oh yeah.
His breath and air. Of, holding and being able to hold the note and everything. But Al actually lived that life. He went to London because he had to go to London to order to perform. He couldn't perform in Philadelphia anymore because of these wise guys. And then he actually wrote to Angelo Bruno, and who was in The Irishman, and he had a meeting with him, and he explained his whole story, and Angelo had listened, and he said, "Okay, prove it that you were." So Al actually was able to do it. I'm not going to say how he did it, but he did do it through tapes. He got one of the guys who was involved with him, and he said, "Listen to this. This is why Al Martino, he's a great, you don't know what these people that really fought for their careers. They fought, Rob and Stephen." So he brought it to Angelo, and Angelo listened, and he said, "Okay, you're going to be able to start working around Philadelphia. Don't worry about anything." And Al got a set career again.
Oh,
hence he got his career again. He got and of course, and the rest is history. He kept on performing.
Yeah.
He got the Godfather. He moved out to California. And he was a great singer and a good friend. That's it's funny. It's like I said, nothing is a straight line. Everything is different than what people think it is.
More of a roller coaster than a straight line, right? Especially in showbiz.
You think of an end result. You think that that person got there, and you don't really know what brought that person to that point. Even with James, he's such a brilliant actor. There's hurt there, and there's happiness in Tony Soprano, But that's James. It's inside him. You know what I mean? He lived it, and it was him. That's what made it great. That's what made him.
Yeah, great. Absolutely.
That's what makes any writer great, and any actor and yourself, to even an acting trainer. When I work with Win Hammond, this guy struggled to keep. He was the first person to institute subscription theater, where you would have subscribers subscribe to the theater, and you were not at the mercy of the critics. They would come.
Yes.
They would come to see the shows, but you weren't at their mercy. You can do what you want.
Yeah.
And he opened up the whole American theater to great writers. Stephen Tessage, Sam Shepard, especially Sam Shepard.
Yeah.
Sam got it. And they used to have this sign, Stieglitz. The Stieglitz, a great writer. If there's anything that's been done, someone has to do it. And that's he provided a place, the American place.
Right.
It would have been so for films, but it's a little bit more difficult. People like Cassavetes have to put their money into it.
Right.
The funding, and they even tried in America to have an American repertory theater, but it never works. I mean, I guess it's the way our society is structured. That we can't have a national. We tried to have a national theater. Tony Randall tried to do a national.
Yeah.
But it never.
Yeah.
And I remember being around the corner working at the American Place, and Win was just smiling. Yeah, good luck with that.
I think Kazan tried something like that too. I believe.
Yeah,
something.
That's true. Kazan tried it also, but it's just the way our society is structured.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it. I mean, we've had great shows, but there's a lot to these. It takes a lot of money, a lot of unions to produce this. Even Paul Savino he tried to create an almost like a national company there, and that failed. So it's tough.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Robert, thank you so much. This was
Yes. Thank you.
this was such an honor for Steve and I both to have you here and to hear these great stories and about your career and
I hope they held up. They held up. I hope.
yeah.
Oh, they absolutely
they
did.
absolutely did. Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
Yes. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much,
Thank
and
you,
for
Rob. Thank you, Steve.
you're welcome,
Yeah,
and for the people
anytime.
who are watching, thank you for your comments and your questions. And we next week we have Elisa Marie Fletcher, who's a film historian, to talk about the films of Elaine May, which we're looking for. Mikey and Nikki as Cassavetes being one of them.
Yeah.
Peter Falk.
Oh, that was a good one we didn't talk about, but I love that one.
Yeah.
That was
That's
one of my-
amazing.
That's a
Yeah.
good one.
That was improvised. That was a beauty. You know, that was
That's
actually. Thanks for
amazing.
reminding
Love
me.
that
I'm gonna
movie.
watch that one again.
Yeah.
Your
It's one of my
relationship.
favorites. That's
Is
one
it?
of my
Yeah.
favorites.
2
Yeah.
cups of coffee with aliens.
There- I'm on my third. No.
Thank you so much, Robert.
Yeah, no, you're welcome.
And
Yeah,
Steve,
and
hope
the
we
Thank
can
you,
work together
Robert.
one
Thank
day.
you.
yeah, I hope so.
Together one day.
I'll
I
send
have
you
some
a
friends in
script.
I
I'll
have some
send you a
friends in
script.
Canada. Please send it to me. You have my
will.
email. Robert has
I
it.
do. I got one.
I'll give it to I'll give it to
And,
Steve.
I have some great friends in Canada. They're great friends. 80 Empire, they're music producers. Adrian
Oh.
and
Okay,
Lucas
yeah.
Reza, and they've worked with a lot of Ballistic Man, a lot of great rap artists. But we're thinking about doing some stuff together. And of course,
Oh, great.
For Nothing, not Say Nothing. I have these two For Nothing is a film that I did in Buffalo, a pilot. So I'm close to Canada. So come
Okay,
out
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay,
It'd
yeah.
be great to come out there.
We'll wave to you across the border. We'll go to the Buffalo border. We'll just give you a week. We're not allowed over now, and vice
Yeah,
versa.
exactly.
And there's Kelly Maria there, so watch out.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hey Kelly, if you're watching, hey Kelly. All right, good seeing you.
And
I'll let you go, Robin.
No. It's fine. Absolutely, I've got all the time here in the world. I was just gonna also one last thing was the Criterion Collection is releasing The Irishman November 24th on DVD and Blu-ray, which is I can't wait for that. I'm sure it's gonna, as you know, the Criterion channel and the Criterion Collection has amazing special features and books of essays, and I'm sure there's gonna be some great supplements on there. So I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely, Marty's going to probably do a lot, and it's a great place.
Yeah.
And I think that, like a lot of Marty's films, people, I mean, he got such great reviews in the Times. I mean, and then a lot of people say, "Well, it's long and everything," but listen, man, it's just like the Led Zeppelin, the 7-8 minute song.
That's right.
Same thing.
Yeah.
This is where it moved. And I think years later, like a lot of Marty's films, people are going to really realize, wow, this is some film, man. This is really some.
Oh
film.
yeah,
I think it is.
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thanks again, Bobby. And if people haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing to our channel. You'll see the subscribe button in the description box below. And we do 3 videos a week, and we do 1 live stream every Thursday at 10:30. So thank you so much, Bobby, again. This was great. And hopefully we'll have you back. Yeah, we'll keep in touch.
Ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Love.
That's our new theme song.
Oh, good.
That's right. Yeah, that's it.
See you guys later. Ciao.
All right, Bobby.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
Bye.
See ya.